Good afternoon po.
Hello, good afternoon.
Okay, I hope everybody had a good lunch. And we will now start the afternoon session in a bit. We already have 1,286 participants. And yeah, I think more will be coming in later, a little later. Okay, so if everybody is good, we can now start the first speaker with the talk of Kian Paderes. Okay, let me introduce first Kian Paderes. Our next speaker is an experienced software engineer with a demonstrated history of working in the computer software industry. He is skilled in mobile application development, computer science, Google Cloud Platform, application programming interfaces, and relational databases. He also has a strong engineering professional background with a degree of computer science from the University of the Philippines in Los Baños. Currently, he is taking the Masteral Computer Science in the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Okay, Kian, are you ready? Here with us today is Mr. Kian Paderes.
Thank you for the introduction, Mrs. Concepcion. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to extend my thanks to the organizers of the 18th Youth Congress. Sorry, there, you can see me now. Yes. First, I'd like to extend my thanks to the organizers of the 18th Youth Congress on Information Technology for inviting me to share my research project today. Thank you as well for the attendees of this event that are here now. My name is Ervin Kian Policy Paderes, and to begin, I'd like to present to you my topic, Implementing Indoor Semantic Location Identification, a case study for COVID-19 proximity tracking in the Philippines. For today, I will be going over the following parts of the research. Each part, I aim to answer these questions in order for us to understand them as a whole. To give context, the work presented here today is a part of an ongoing research which will be conducted next year. Starting on the background of the research, this part aims to answer the reasoning behind the exploration of new solutions for COVID-19 proximity tracking, what semantic ontology is, and how it relates to proximity tracking, and what does the research really aim to solve with regards to implementing indoor semantic location identification for proximity tracking. Prior research related to the topic will also be discussed for us to understand what was done in this subject area. Then the latter part of the presentation will focus on the proposed solution of using semantic ontologies with proximity tracking, how the research will evaluate this solution, and the main goals of the research. To start, let me give you a quick background of what the research is all about. Amidst the early part of the year, countries undertook broad social measures and ordered the closure of public places as a direct response to the rapid outbreak of COVID-19. But right now, as lockdown is sustainable, a move towards the new normal seems to happen across the country. Civil Service Commission, with the support of Commission on Higher Education, released guidelines urging companies and educational institutions to maintain public health and social measures within its premises. These guidelines enforce the need to maintain minimum health standards like social distancing for all people interacting inside the space, as well as the continuous disinfection of said spaces in a timely manner. Research showed that most solutions implemented worldwide tackled the problem of contact tracing, mostly focusing on proximity tracking, which falls under the proximity technology and location activity surveillance and risk communication. Existing location-based solutions like indoor positioning systems are a great fit to address this. A survey of location-based application tackling COVID-19 showed that they are able to utilize proximity technology and localization techniques in order to capture relevant geospatial or location data to be used by the contact tracing system. Given that, I'd like to give a background about these research concepts. Location-based solutions are software utilizing geospatial data and information in providing services. A study showed that contact tracing and proximity tracking solutions deployed in various countries, such as South Korea, Singapore, Germany, as well as equivalent solutions deployed here in our country, utilize technologies like GPS, Bluetooth, and QR codes, which allows them to map and assess the likelihood of COVID-19 incidents. In their positioning systems are network of devices utilizing positional technologies such as Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and even smartphone sensors in order to locate people or objects indoors. Studies showed that these technologies were widely implemented for proximity tracking due to their effectiveness and adaptability. One popular localization technique for indoor positioning systems is fingerprint localization. This technique has an offline and an online phase, where data from the sensors in the network are collected during an offline phase, and the main localization process happens during the online phase. For the technique to be effective, some considerations must be addressed, such as the measurement accuracy from sensors, floor determination in multi-level buildings, and verification means of the sense data. The enrichment of geospatial data with semantic ontologies came from the basis where spatial data can be elevated to allow semantics for integration, sharing, and analysis of geospatial information. In general, semantic ontologies are frameworks for representing shareable and reusable knowledge. In summary, semantic ontology for geospatial data should be able to represent and conceptualize location information and enforce a concept of space. They should also be able to determine unit space and topological relationships. They should be able to clearly provide the semantic constraints between interspaces, and they should be able to provide sufficient description about the geometry of the space. Which brings us to the research gap. There is a need to improve the performance of proximity tracking solutions within indoor spaces. Current solutions do not reliably maintain public health measures unobtrusively within indoor facilities. The purpose of this research is to enhance indoor localization models with location identities from semantic ontologies, focusing on observable events within context-unique locations. So let's discuss about the related literature on the various topics that are part of this research. General work towards fingerprint localization utilize received signal strength indicators or channel state information from Wi-Fi and Bluetooth sensors. The use of machine learning algorithms for either the sensor value collection phase in the offline and the localization phase during the online phase was also a relevant direction to pursue. Trends showed that popular machine learning models used were neural network based, which is either artificial neural networks and extreme learning machines, tree based, which are either decision trees or random forests, and miscellaneous algorithms such as k-nearest neighbors, support vector machines, Bayesian algorithms, Kalman filters, and boosting models such as ADA Boost. For the floor determination problem, it follows the same thread as the fingerprint localization. Existing work shows that the use of machine learning models to classify fingerprints taken during the offline phase improves the accuracy of the localization model. Another research utilized elaborate feature extraction to create landmarks within the mall, uh, and this helps to identify on which floor the user is, and it greatly improves simultaneous localization and the modeling of the users inside it. Research on semantic location identities adapt characteristics and context awareness from ontologies to determine landmarks. Studies have shown that ontologies, when overlaid along sensing and navigation layers, can provide a strong context model engine for interpositioning systems. These identities should be clearly distinguishable among its surroundings, and it should also clearly state the context of the identity. The initial studies exploring the implementation of the two semantic location identities and interlocalization were already done. One such attempt uh, was the previous research which talks about floor determination inside the mall. On it, the researchers were able to bring reduction in both localization error and convergence time for the SLAM algorithm. Another study shows that the use of semantic location identities as a verification model for the results of the machine learning algorithms. Uh, in this study, to it was able to improve the interpositioning systems deployed in a hospital to track the activity of patients passing through different facilities. It was shown that these location identities were able to provide verification successfully, and it was able to increase the accuracy of the localization model compared to the use of solely machine learning algorithms. So for this slide, it shows the summary of the prior work regarding semantic location identities and fingerprint localization and how they were able to, how previous studies were able to mesh together these concepts. Now that we have explored the research concepts and existing related work, it's time to talk about the proposed solution that this research aims to provide. The direction of this research will be focused on the following. It will mainly tackle the implementation of the proximity tracking system in an indoor space context, which consists of defining the semantic location identities for multiple floors, resulting to an implementation to a data format that best describes its spatial context, as well as the improvement of the proximity tracking within interlocations by the use of floor determination techniques and indoor semantic map matching. After the main proximity tracking system is developed, the assessment of the system and its performance on proximity tracking and its ability to maintain and enforce public health and social measures will be measured. The proposed inter-proximity tracking localization model will go as follows. For its offline phase, the system will utilize proximity data received from beacon ranging to be used as a training data. This training data will be used by both the semantic map matching models and the floor determination machine learning models. Both will utilize provided labels or classes of the fingerprint dataset and use these to train themselves. These classes will also be defined as a semantic location identity. For its online phase, it will use phone sensor heuristics in order to determine if the users will start ranging. When it starts, it will use the proximity data and sensor heuristics from the users themselves to feed it into the floor determination model in order to classify which floor the user is now. And if it was successful in identifying the floor, it will then pass the proximity data into the semantic map matching model in order to range which facility or location identity the user currently is. Semantic location identities are a main part of the proposed localization model. They are the byproduct of semantic ontologies, and they follow their defined rules. As discussed in the previous slide, they will be the main output of the offline phase, which will describe the classes in both floor determination and semantic path matching models. For the online phase, they will be utilized as the main classes to range the floor the user is in currently, as well as their current location identity. This part of the research will comprise of the formulation of semantic ontologies to be used to describe the indoor space. The output, in a form of data written in a specific format, must show relationship between sensors, entities, and the model used for localization. For the floor determination model, it will utilize machine learning based on received signal strength indicator values to identify which floor the user currently is. The labels here will be the floors where RSSI values were taken in the offline phase. Using machine learning, the intensity of the captured RSSI values will be measured, and these learning models will use those intensity to differentiate which floor the user currently is. Uh, for the for the whole localization process, this will be the first one to be determined during the online phase. Next, the semantic map matching model extends the main goal of the fingerprinting method and introduces classes into it. The proposal will use labeled proximity dataset, which has captured fingerprints with identification based on its location for the offline phase. Same as for determination, these labels will be used as classes to be trained by the supervised learning model. The online phase will consist of the model classifying newly captured fingerprints, and the output will be the semantic location identity which the user is currently on. The localization model will be Python-based, deployed on a MacBook Pro machine. A backend Node.js server application will also be developed to facilitate data exchange between the localization model, the database, and the end clients to be localized. Data will be stored with a centralized approach, and storing positional data will only be done during the sensing period. For its sensor topology, it will consist of Bluetooth Low Energy beacons. Currently, the research has access to a total of 7 beacons, comprised of the following brands: Estimote and Aruba. Both of them are 2.4 GHz, and they can broadcast the same beacon data format to be captured by the system. A proximity tracking application, which will be developed for both Android and iOS, will be the tool used to read sensor data within a region. These clients will send mobility data to the server to be localized. They should also be able to intrinsically detect proximity from other devices with the use of their built-in sensors in order to enforce social distancing. The web-based dashboard shows the user's tracker, as well as proximity tracking status of defined facilities within the sense area. The only people who can access these dashboards are the administrators. They are the only ones with the capability to monitor aggregated data of activity within the facilities. The dashboard will be used to provide information to allow relevant and timely decisions regarding facility usage. The system should also be able to inform administrators within an immediate time segment of the amount of people occupying each facilities in order to maintain public health and social measures. For the methodology part of this presentation, we will go over how the research will evaluate each part of the proposed methodology. In the definition of semantic location identities, there will be a comparison of the performance of the following data formats: industry foundation classes, CTGML, and GeoJSON in terms of describing the semantic identities and relationships of entities within the sense area. To conduct qualitative analysis of these three, their output schema will be evaluated based on the following criteria: geometric abstraction, or the ability of the format to capture geometrical information. In this study, most of the data will be in 2D format. So one important part of this criteria is the ability to further partition a geometric space into small clusters. So this is one of the important criterions to be considered. The second one is semantic support, where all relevant information utilized by the semantic location identity should be described well within the format. Important consideration will be given to its consistency and completeness in describing spatial elements, as well as the format's positional, temporal, and thematic accuracy. The third will be its spatial referencing method, or its ability to store relevant information from the sensor network. And last, its level of detail support and its capability for visualization will also be considered. For the machine learning models, the research will evaluate them based on their performance. The metrics chosen here will be based on previous studies of the research, and the models chosen for evaluation uh, are also based on previous studies in order to choose the optimal model for both problems. For the semantic map matching, uh, the models to be evaluated are decision trees, random forest, support vector machines, and neural networks. For the floor determination problem, the models to be evaluated are linear discriminant analysis, k-nearest neighbors, and neural networks. The experiments will be done in a test area with a three-level indoor space. This is for the research to have sufficient experimentation done for the floor determination problem, as well as the semantic map matching problem. For all of the machine learning models, they will be evaluated based on the following metrics. Its F1 score, which indicates the performance of the recall and precision power of the models, as well as the class prediction error, which verifies its performance on uh, estimating each class uh, inside the database. These were chosen to evaluate the models because of their focus on class predictions. Uh, as we've known, the classes in this for both problems are uh, its floors and which location identity the user is at now. The last part of the research involves the evaluation of the whole proximity tracking solution. The research will conduct a quantitative survey for the participants of the system experiment. The population will consist of available employees and stakeholders of the sense area. For accuracy, the questions will revolve around the measurement of location segment level accuracy, measured by the ratio of correct segment level estimations to the total number of targets, and coordinate level accuracy, measured by the correctness of estimation regardless of its floor. The robustness of the solution is also measured by its ability to estimate the location segment against the total amount of nodes deployed. What's measured here is the trade-off between deployment effort and the localization accuracy. So in conclusion, existing work shows how semantic location identity can help improve tracking of users within an indoor space. Prior solutions show as well how indoor localization can help proximity tracking in maintaining health guidelines for COVID-19. The scope of this research tackles the improvement of proximity tracking solutions by implementing indoor semantic location identification. This improvement is aimed for educational institutions and office agencies to provide reliable solutions for maintaining public health and social measures. And so I end my research presentation with that. Thank you again for allowing me to present this today.
Thank you, Kian. We have some questions from the audience. From Jefferson Salvador. So does it mean that other people need to install the same software in order for it to work, or will it still work without others having the application? Kian?
Thank you. Jefferson, for this specific solution, this will be an app-based system. So yes, they would need to install this specific app in order for them to utilize the localization models.
Okay. Second question from Harold Jacob Henthorn. If software is using Bluetooth, location, and internet, how is the security of the user and he or she's data privacy? Kian?
Thank you, Harold, for that question. Uh, this will be for this research. We are focusing on the proximity tracking solutions and improving it. But in order to maintain data privacy, uh, we will utilize anonymized location data. So the system will only retrieve mobility data and positional data uh, across the sense area. And it will only be that during the sensing period in which phone sensor heuristics will tell the system that the person is already moving and they should start capturing data. When it's not when the system is not when the application hasn't said that to the system, it won't store any data whatsoever.
Okay. Next question from John Morim Abuyabor. What would be the license used for the apps or softwares? Will this be open source? Hello, Kian.
Thank you, John. Yes, this will be for this research. We plan on using mostly open source applications. Uh, we will be using uh, only we have already found an open source data beacon data format, and we will plan on using that as we've only wanted to have the same beacon data format for both iOS and Android. So yes, we won't be needing any licenses, and all of the tools that will be used there will be open source.
From Sir Cosme Susito, I would like to ask if how have you assessed the effectiveness of the system using the neural network structure of both devices? Kian?
Thank you. For this, the system will host its its machine learning model on the server itself in order to not incur any computational cost from the mobile devices of the users. So for this, we know that the performance of the model will be the same across all of the devices.
Wait. Here is another question from Kenichi Nita. Are there other potential applications for this project, especially after the COVID pandemic has passed? Kian?
Thank you for that question, Kinichi. That's a very good one. For given that this system is focusing on facilities itself instead of the public spaces, this can be also utilized in order to track the usage data of each of the facilities. For example, in a factory context, well, we are able to see which part of the floor of the factory floor are being used, and we can use those relevant data in order to provide additional information and in order to uh, maybe optimize the flow of the work inside the factory floor. That's just one example. Another one is on office spaces, especially those who are renting them. Uh, the, with this system, they can use this application in order to determine which part of the office space are mostly used by their employees. Given this, they can maybe uh, use reduced resources for the other parts of the office space which are they are not using, especially with the high electricity cost of office spaces. They can use this to maybe reduce their electricity costs.
Thank you, Kian, for answering the question. There are several questions regarding mobile application Android requirements. I will just link this together, all these questions on mobile app. First is what will be the Android OS requirement to download the app? Another is how could this app work on Android phones with aggressive power saving features to which they limit location and Bluetooth to the point the OS turns it off after a specific amount of time because this could result in inaccurate data. So another third question related, how do you cater to non-Android and non-iOS smartphones? Kian?
Okay. Thank you for those questions. So answering the first one, the research plans on using only Android, starting on Android 8 uh, onwards. But this will also be dependent on uh, the population of the testing people that the research will be able to accumulate during its experimentation phase. But for now, during the development of the localization models, it will only use Android 8 specifically and Samsung S10 phone, as well as an iPhone 11 phone. For the next question, which talks about Android phones using aggressive power saving features, which uh, for those cases, the application will require them to turn on their Bluetooth. So I don't think it would be a problem, given that it's already part of the application itself that it requires Bluetooth. Uh, I don't think the I don't think the sensing power of the applications will be affected, given that the application itself forces the phone. Well, it's not forcing, but it asks for permission for the user to turn on their Bluetooth on, and in order to allow sensing. And last is for those users without cell phones or non Android and non iOS. For this research won't tackle those population for now, but it will be part of the recommendations of this research, uh, which explores the use of QR codes and the pen and paper approach as well. But for now, the research will focus on utilizing machine learning models with semantic location identities in order to improve proximity tracking.
Okay, thank you very much, Kian. I hope that answers these several questions. Some questions pertaining to using computers or PC with internet connection. One is from Madeline. Pwede po ba yan offline? Kasi hindi naman po lahat ng lugar may net connection.
Uh, for this one, no, because we define this research for facilities with online capabilities as well as application phones available for their employees. Uh, that's part of the limitation of this research. We are targeting only office organizations and administrators, as well as the employee workforce of the educational institutions.
Okay, thanks, Kian. Another question from Jefferson. Will it still work if the device is using VPN? And related to that, what is the best software you can suggest for detecting physical contact of an individual?
Okay.
Kian?
Thank you for that question, Jefferson. I for this research, it it hasn't explored the use of VPN or applications using VPN. So this can be a research path that can be explored as well during the ongoing research. So thank you for that. Then the next question is about the best software for detecting physical contact of an individual. Uh, there are existing solutions worldwide that were already deployed. Most of them uses for countries like South Korea and China with and sufficient infrastructure for location surveillance. They were able to utilize CCTV cameras in order to track the population and the activity of each population in in each of their, I guess, barangays or cities if it would be compared to our country. And for applications itself, one of the most reliable way is Bluetooth proximity. But there were also research from uh, indoor proximity, indoor localization itself that utilize Wi-Fi in order to track proximity with each other.
Okay, last three questions from Luisa. How about without the application po? And if
Uh,
you from Dave, if you copy the application to a different computer, will it still work? And what are the potential errors if it won't? Kian?
okay, for the first one, this we will not. Well, the research requires the application itself in order to work. So yeah, we will for the during the conducting of the experimentation, we will require all of the people to install our applications. The next one is if we copied it to a different computer, will it still work? Uh, yes, because we are using open source Python machine learning libraries such as sklearn, and as long as we have installed those libraries to another computers, it will still work. It should be able to still work.
Okay, last question from John Rastilola. Can we see the application itself, the GUI, Kian?
Okay. For now, it's still in a discovery phase. So that for the next year we will be conducting this research. So for now, we still don't have any GOI.
Okay, that's all questions that we have from the participants. Thank you very much, Kian, for your very good study presentation, and hope we will have more questions later on when some participants would like to ask later, maybe later. Okay, thank you very much, Kian. We will move on to the next speaker, Gabriel Villorente.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Hello. Our next speaker is an IT consultant. In his 12 years in the industry, he became an expert in the following fields: end-to-end IT solutions development, mobile applications development, enterprise mobility solutions, digital transformation, enterprise architecture, and IT governance, to name a few. Marami, ano? During his free time, he teaches the core IT courses in the University of the Philippines Information Technology Development Center. Um, Let us all welcome Mr. Gabriel Villorente. We also fondly called him Gabo. Good afternoon, Gabo. Are you ready?
Yes, good afternoon, Ma'am Floor. I will be presenting a specific topic, but let me just set up my screen. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. The topic that I will discuss today, I'll just give a brief background. Um, when I was asked by our deputy director and program coordinator for Y4IT to think of something that will actually help our students, probably some tech tips or hacks that will help them in their remote learning. And in this particular time of the pandemic, I actually am interested more on the specific topic that I am bringing to the table. Okay, passing tabi for those who are actually using this form of hacks, but for the others who does not have an idea, I will be presenting a big and important life hack. But before that, let me first set up some um, probably fundamental knowledge and some discussions on how I really wanted to push this forward. So it's a little bit of a hidden agenda, but my topic would really discuss and demonstrate how the Zoom virtual background life hack can be a tool for all the students. Okay, so each or every online learning student should really know this, or I would say all students participating in a remote classroom experience should at least have these hacks in handy. Part of that, I would say, amongst all the other topics that I was pondering to discuss, like an example would be, it might sound funny, but how to create your own bot auto reply to your teachers, or for example, auto reply to their chats. So you can do that as well. But I find this something more practical and something more easier to implement. It's not at all IT related, but I would say that it's more on because we are in the realm of the discussion of technology. So with that, before I begin, just hear me out on the background or the required knowledge so we can move forward with what I want to bring to the table. Okay. So I have here a disclaimer, and I will always attach this disclaimer to this topic. I do not own the process actually of the virtual background feature of Zoom, but I will put it in another angle. Okay, so for my disclaimer, I am doing this particular talk to help students, and I would highlight this one: overcome their anxieties. The anxieties they experience when participating in an online learning mode of delivery, where there's a caveat: students are required to sit in front of the camera during the entire duration of the class while the teacher is giving their lecture. Okay, so I have a lot of chismis or a lot of other experiences from my friends' daughters and sons, from my friends' children participating in an online classroom, and it's somewhat a little bit, okay, um, generates anxieties, or they become more anxious because of this heavy requirement. Okay, and you of all the people participating or having this IT career would really understand. Hence, which leads me to my second point in the disclaimer. This talk, again, does not aim to humiliate teachers. And pasintabi rin po ulit for the IT practitioners and the IT instructors in this conference. But these teachers who require this kind of teaching, you're locked in front of the camera, you have to show your face in front of the camera as our classes go along. Okay, on the contrary, I want this to be out there and probably open their eyes that this will give them other ideas to be really more creative, probably use and utilize technology further, or a learning environment system, in handling their mode of delivery, thereby pushing them to change their pedagogy into a more flexible mode of learning. So kamakailan, I would just like to highlight some terms here that might be new to you. Uh, the Department of Education pushed for what we call a flexible learning. And I will discuss maybe a combination of the few, but mostly I will focus on the use of the technology in it. And another term here that you probably is new to you, we have here the word pedagogy. Pedagogy is a technique in teaching. It's also the type of environment that you want to subject a teacher to student relationship in order to have the information passed through and the knowledge learned by the students. Okay. I have here another disclaimer, and I want to make it more verbal so that it will be a personal, sabihin ko na lang, adhikain. Okay, this is not a pedagogy shaming talk, but more of an advocacy. Okay, so I'll move on, and just to give you an orientation, please, in if you have questions, address it in the chat, in the Q&A box here at Zoom, and use the chat box on a different type. Let's say your greeting and shout outs. So make sure that you log it here in your Q&A chat box. Okay, or the Q&A box. Now, I want to establish some common ground so that I can move on with my presentation. And this is really to help you students about what you are feeling. As I've highlighted a while ago, ano ba yung anxieties? What are these anxieties that we are feeling? Okay? I will highlight or I will divide it into two. The first one is I will focus on the anxieties that we are indeed really feeling. Okay? So these anxieties are actually brought about by some certain considerations or environmental factors. Number one, I would say, is your physical appearance. Before I started this talk, and I am required to really show my face, I had to comb my hair. If you are into makeup, do some makeup, take a bath, brush your teeth, wear an appropriate clothes. And these are actually a bit challenging for me. I live by myself. I have a specific schedule or no schedule at all on when I want to wash my clothes. I don't really put on so much hair products. I am not doing makeup. But there is a big pressure for you to look presentable. And that alone contributes to the anxieties. I know we need to really show ourselves as if it's before the pandemic started. People miss interaction, people needs to see your face. That's understandable, but it's a double-edged sword. It requires a lot from you. Okay. And then I would like to highlight the second one, another environmental factor for consideration that generates anxieties as well. And this is what we call the shared learning space. We do not really have an allocated office in our homes. Some would probably find a spot in their living room, their kitchen, their balcony, or probably their bedroom, which may also occur anxieties that your mom will pass by behind you, your younger kid will peek through the door, and probably your yaya will tell you it's time to eat. So there are things here that because you have this particular learning space in this online environment, and the anxiety there is caused by this is a shared space. You are actually in your own home, and you might probably belong to a family with a lot of people and sharing a small room, but you have to proceed and keep on showing your face just to show a proof of life and you're participating in that class. Another maybe is that you might have siblings who are also conducting their online studies or online work and would also require them to have that good spot in your house, that they will also need to make some noise so that they can proceed with their lecture. So these factors, I think, were not really considered when this type of a requirement is enforced. Another is a shared learning space, maybe for those who really need to go up on top of the roof, and because that's the only signal that you have, and sabay-sabay na po kayo lahat kumukuha ng signal, sabay-sabay rin kayo nag-aaral on several different other courses, which is, I think, also will add more anxiety because it adds distraction, and you don't want that contributing and distracting you from your learning. Let's say contributing to the noise or distracting you from the learning. Another, then this is another important thing, the demand of being synchronous. So what does the anxiety you feel from this one? For areas that may have outbreaks of the virus, they are subjected to lockdowns. So we are in this portion for the general community quarantine or for the modified community quarantine, wherein there are certain locations, barangays, or even streets that will have an outbreak and will need to have the highest level of quarantine or lockdowns. Okay, so what is this relation with the anxiety that you feel? So teachers would require you to be there at this particular time. Let's say 10 a.m. Everybody must be cameras on in my class. I will teach the lecture, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the demand of the synchronicity or the being synchronized is that what if, since you are in a lockdown, stores have specific times of the day, your quarantine passes have specific hours of the day, at kunyari kayo pa yung only person na pwedeng lumabas or has the power to go out and represent your family in buying essential products or conducting essential errands. So that will also be a factor. There is the high demand of, teka, I need to pay my electricity bill. I need to pay our family's electricity bill. But this is the allotted time that I can go out. But this is also the time of our class. So it all adds up and contributes to your psychosocial thinking, and actually equates to becoming more anxious, okay, or even planning ahead on how to overcome these challenges, okay. And lastly, I would highlight also here the point wherein there is a limitation of your, I will highlight this again, living. It's initially your home, it's your living space, transformed into a learning space. So to be honest, I don't really clean my room, I don't wash my dishes, and all of these will be seen in my background. I have privacy issues. So you will see here, I just selected something that people cannot really think or make sense out of my background. But if I had no choice, people will be seeing the backgrounds where I have my cigarettes, my alcohol laid out. So people know that I'm not by saying, but I'm a smoker, I'm an alcoholic. So things like this, the things you see in the background actually, without you telling them, gives away your privacy. Also, it's your living space. You have the right how you want it to appear, and you also have the right to not clean it, organize it. But in a way, you are forced to clean, you are forced to organize because you need the good background. Okay, so that transition of your living space, that you can be who you want to be, do whatever you want, suddenly restricts you because it has to be an environment that fosters an academic mode of learning. So that transition of living to learning actually adds up to that anxiety. I will give you an example. I'm using my bedroom for my office work, also for my class. And at some point, I really want to keep on doing and making use of my bedroom as my living space, that I will want to conduct my class while I'm sleeping, or while I am lying down. But because of some certain requirements, you have to sit in a proper chair, okay, maybe not an ergonomic one, okay, present yourself properly. So these things adds up to your restrictions or constrictions, and I would call it as a limitation. Okay, I'll part those considerations or factors. The second one that I want to highlight here is actually babarilin ko yung requirement na yon. Okay? So this is actually being done in even in remote work, that it's something that has to also be adopted in learning. This is the relationship of three factors. The first one is the level of trust. Okay? The level of trust versus the degree of confidence and the type of class or the learning modality, the type or the type of the modality itself. Okay, so these are the perfect combination of these three. The higher the level of trust, meaning I trust you, you can do it. Okay, of the teacher to the student, that the teacher has a high confidence in the student to learn remotely on whatever type of medium with minimal supervision, and the lesser need for this face-to-face interaction, okay, or the type of the lesser need of the that requirement in whatever modality. Okay, so you can select a lot of modalities, and then there's an activity there that requires you for face to face. You have to limit that as much as possible. The lesser the better. Okay, so these are the perfect combinations of these three. You trust the student, you give confidence to your learning material, you don't need yourself to be actually there. So, and actually there is a study that in whatever type of learning modality you choose, the absorption of knowledge is technically the same. So you do not need to make it more difficult for you and for the students. Again, I want to address here the anxiety. Hence, I'll go to the next portion, and that is we have to foster, and because of the trust and confidence in whatever type of learning modality we choose, there is what we call an academic maturity. In the University of the Philippines, we trust each other that I people actually develop what we call a course pack that students will just follow. They don't need to be synchronous. They don't need to show their faces to their professors. They don't need to agree on a time. They just have to complete the requirements. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they set a deadline for these requirements. So what we call academic maturity is the combination of these three factors: trust, confidence, and the modality. Now, given that I have established those common grounds, I will now proceed with the different learning modalities or the different pedagogies or the different techniques in learning. F2F is face to face, BL is blended learning, FC is flipped classroom. And as you know, you have here an e-learning. That's e-learning for online learning. Everything is handled by a learning environment system like Canvas. In our case, we have UVLE for UP Diliman. Okay, I have presented a few. There are a lot more. Okay, so if this is sounding new to you, especially the teachers, it might be a warning. Okay, so the blended learning is more of a combination of a little bit face to face and more on you can supply information online, probably through a video or an audio or record a demonstration. And the flipped classroom is quite similar, but there is no need for that face to face interaction. Everything that you need to learn, you can really source it from the internet. And again, I mentioned e-learning a while ago, and this is through the use of an online learning platform, maybe Canvas or what have you in your universities. But due to the pandemic, these various learning and teaching modalities may have been, we are the casualty on this one. The students, pinag-eksperimentohan, and also the teachers trying to search which type of harmony or combinations of these activities that they have to really choose and pick and style for their students. Again, I will be the devil's advocate here, and I would just focus on the face to face. And in each or all of the types or even activity in this learning modality, face to face is actually a thing in the past. And you know that because we've stopped the education during the lockdown last February or March. And even if you use whatever learning modality, whatever medium or type of technology, if you still require face to face, you are still in the past. Now, I would go to another one. Why I really am against probably face to face. And again, I am pro solving your anxieties. In an online, I'll use it as an online because we can't do face to face right now. In an online face to face, there are a lot of requirements. And I will discuss the three. The first requirement, of course, is digital equity. Your teacher should have the right amount of computer with a good webcam, a good microphone. Okay? Ang gusto kong i-highlight doon is it really a good microphone? Is it really a good webcam? Does it really remove noise? Or do you see yourself in 4K? And not only the teacher, also the students will have to have these tools and equipment. They must all have their computers. They must all have their good internet connection because this is real time. So they must have 25 Mbps and above. So you have to have that digital equity na can students really afford this fast of an internet? Okay? Can students really have that high-end computer or high-end webcam, or they just have are their phones? Okay? If you ever require them to show themselves, will they have an enough cube or table that they can put their laptop on? So these equities in being digital, even in technology, ask yourselves, do you have access on it? Suppose I decided to make a Facebook Live. Yan, digital equity rin po ito, no? Willing ba yung student i-participate ang kanyang Facebook account? Okay, so there is already a merge here of their social media usage with technology, and that's technically a different topic, but it's still in the realm of digital. So you have to assess all of these things. We don't want someone to be left behind. So part of this, we really need to make sure that they have access to digital technologies before we can really reinforce this. So nandun na ako. Kunyari lahat tayo may computer. Since we are in IT, you are required to buy one. Lahat tayo may mga cameras. Lahat tayo, because we are in IT, we're techie people, subscribe to the fastest internet. Ano pa yung ibang requirements ng online face-to-face? There is, again, an agreed fixed schedule. Okay? And this is out of our control. So you might really need to have your schedules meet at some point. Let's say you're a class of 20, a class of 12. You must meet or compromise to agree on a specific schedule that is most likely not affected by the pandemic, or kung halimbawa yung isang student mo ay nasa isang high risk area or is encountering lockdowns, then this is something that you can't really force. Okay, but provided you are in an MGCQ area already, tourism is up, people can go around, okay, and you have the freedom already, you still have to agree on a specific schedule. So I'll give it to you. You have schedule, you have the proper technology. This is the last one. You will reinforce an online face-to-face because we are social beings. We need that social interaction. We need 100% attention from the students learning from the teacher. Okay, but there is a downfall here. If, for example, by any chance that the social and interaction became one way, teacher talking, students listening, and then as if we are still back again to the traditional face-to-face where the teachers as the only source of information and the direction or flow of this information is one way. So that is actually something that is not anymore applicable to an online face-to-face type of an activity. I would highly suggest that you probably, as the teacher who still does this, just record yourself, upload the video in YouTube or something, and students will just watch it at their own pace. That's, I think, is the best one. So again, I would just like to highlight, if the direction of the inflow of information is just one way, teacher in the center, students listening to the teacher, it's as if we're back to a regular physical classroom type of learning. Okay, now with that, I just want to highlight again that it's an advocacy. I'm not really technically against this type of pedagogy, but I want students to really hack this so that you can overcome your anxieties and probably free up and become more productive, and probably you don't need to really be restricted or limited with this particular requirement. So with this, that's the very background of why I wanted to show this to you. And I will do it now. Okay? So what are the requirements? Ito na yung totoong life hack. If, for example, the teachers require you to become, to show yourself in the cameras, I have some life hacks that I can show you. So ano yung isang requirement? So the first one is the camera that you will be using for your Zoom should be the same camera that you will be using for this life hack. What else? The background that you will be using for this life hack should also be the background that you will be using when you do your face-to-face. Another is the appearance or the shirt that you will be using, okay, should also be the same as the shirt that you will be using whenever you're doing your face-to-face. Okay, so let me just present to you an example. Okay, so I am now on my desktop. I hope you can see my desktop. I will show to you another requirement here, which is pangdaya, no? Your face mask, okay? So I have pre-recorded an earlier video. Okay? Siguro pakita ko lang muna na ganyan. Okay, so this was me with my face mask and I wore it and then I pretended as if I am listening. And after that as if I'm listening, I'm using my eyes for my interaction as if I will be saying something. Okay? Move your eyebrows, move your head, move your face, and do some gestures as if that you are paying attention. Okay. Next video, I will show you how you save that video and then how I place it in my Zoom virtual background. So here, I go to my settings. Okay. After going to my settings, go to background and filters. And here, there is a plus sign at the upper right corner, and voila, you can add a video. So choose the earlier recorded video, click it, and you will see that you have here your background, virtual background with your video. So I was superimposed in front of it, and the next one, just close your camera or find something to cover your camera. So I will do that now as if I am paying attention in front of the camera, and also as if I am saying something or participating in class. So let me do that now. I will load my virtual background, okay, here, and my video will be on loop. Okay, so that's me behind that. And I will now turn off my camera or cover it, and voila, as if I am paying attention to my instructor, as if also I am saying something if the instructor is presenting. And what good does this will take? I can wash the dishes, I can do my laundry, I can feed my younger sister, and I can also probably clean the room or chat my classmates while listening to the teacher, probably, and probably have an internal discussion. If you want, you can show your hands, do some gestures as if you are listening and paying attention. Okay, so with that, I will stop my um, virtual background. I will share to you another virtual background, and this one is through the use of an emoji. Okay, and I'm sure you saw this with one of the organizers here, Noel. I was inspired by him. And this one, I am using a laptop in front of my emoji, okay, and the laptop is covering my mouth. So this one, I can pretend that I am talking or listening to you, but in essence, I'm standing up, doing whatever I like, and I am free from this restricting requirement. Okay, so I'll stop that, and I hope that you have learned from me. Okay, and I'll turn on my camera as if this is the real environment. Okay, and probably I am now ready to answer your questions. Let me just reopen that slide. Okay, if you have questions, please use the Q&A box. And again, ang gusto ko lang isolve dito is the anxieties you students are experiencing. And that feature in Zoom as a video for your virtual background can help you overcome these anxieties. Thank you and good afternoon.
Okay, thank you, Sir Gabriel Bulirente, for this presentation or life hacks. Now, how can you, there's a question here. How can you handle the situation in online class if the signal of the students are not too strong over to the others using interconnection with higher signal? For example, one student lost his or her connection in the middle of online class. Are you going to mark him or her as absent?
Okay, so to be honest, I don't really require students to be present if I have this activity. Okay, as much as possible, we don't check attendance. That's the most important thing. In the University of the Philippines, we have course pack. Again, this does not require you to be virtually present. Just respond whenever you can. That's it. Don't even require attendance. Guys, we can work remotely. There should be that mutual trust between us that when I assign you something to learn something, you should be able to do it. And that's academic maturity. So, kapag mahina ang signal nyo, okay, ito na lang, no? You have to have that consent also from your teacher. You tell them, ma'am, I'm just using my data and this is just 50 pesos for the whole day. I have to message my sister who is now in quarantine, my brother who is in the hospital. I have to keep him busy listening to me. I don't have time for this. Okay? You don't require me to be present. This is only the amount of data that I have. Uh, tell them that you're busy, tell them that you have limited amount of data, tell them that you don't have the right technology. Just tell them. Okay? They cannot put you in a specific type of parang nilalagay kayo sa isang hulmahan. This is remote learning. You have that academic freedom. Okay, I think I've answered the question. Noel, are there
Okay.
other?
There's another. There's a comment here. It's saying about mentioning about Zoom fatigue. Yeah, this is the common terminology. Another question would be, what will be the great learning modality to those students who are in the mountainous area and have not enough internet connectivity or maybe signal?
Okay, so kung internet yung problem, but you have computers, okay? Kung internet yung problem, you can do USBs or at one point, let's say you agree, let's say every 2 weeks, there is a dedicated day for you to go to a place wherein you can access all of the information. You save it in a USB. Okay, and then go back again to your home because that is the 14-day quarantine period. So isolate yourself and then come back again after 2 weeks. So teacher and student must agree on that schedule. Okay, and let's be honest, we don't have a good internet infrastructure in the country. We can't really force them to go fully online. Okay, but we are in the IT realm, so probably students will have computers, students will have their smartphones. Think of activities that you can do only with those smartphones, probably. Or think of activities that you can do that doesn't really require to be online. Typing a report, you don't need to be online that. You just need a word processing na local to your computer. Or drafting a presentation, you don't really need to be online. You just draft it, okay, in your local machine.
Okay. Speaking of devices, there are participants who are asking about if the feature is also supported maybe on the Android device, and if it's also possible to do the same life hack on Google. Where is it? Google Meet.
I tried Google Meet, but Google Meet just have a image. Okay? So, pwede nyong paglaruan. What you can do is, instead of image, make it a GIF. Okay. So, you know what a GIF is. Tingnan natin kung mag-work. But I really haven't tried. All I can do with Google right now is technically one still image. Okay. And then in terms of device, okay, actually it's not device specific. More so, it is the version of your app in that device. Because this particular feature is already supported across all devices, so you just have to make sure that you are in the right version that allows this feature. Otherwise, you'll be locked in a computer sakaling hindi talaga pwede sa inyong Android device, no? What you can do is from it's local. It will find your particular file from your computer. So yun yung, I don't know if Zoom has rolled this out yet on an Android phone. Okay? So antabayanan natin, baka galingan nila for Android.
Okay, so are you saying that virtual background does not work on mobile devices yet?
I would say I have not tested. Okay, pero it will be there. Don't worry.
All right, here's a question. Will the third player DITO telco will help on the connectivity here in the Philippines since we are now on the new normal?
This is not really a question where I have the liberty of discussing, but we can demand them to be interconnected. Actually, that is intentionally the goal of the ICT and the other telco players. And if you're paying for a service and this service serves the public, then we can ASA, or we can entrust this type of uh, right, because it's one of our rights, access to digital technology or access to digital proper internet infrastructure. If this will serve the public, it has to be lobbied in the Congress and make it as a law, as if it is a water utility service, as if it is an electricity utility service. Again, serves the public. So this should be put into law.
All right, thank you. There are also questions related to Microsoft Teams. Do you have recommendations or maybe hacks for MS
Okay,
Teams?
so for Microsoft Teams, this is one hack that I've learned. Okay, I've learned it by myself because I do a little, not a lot, but I do a lot of exercises, mini examples, and I see tutorials from the web. Okay, a life hack can be automation. So when it's a simple, you can use Power Automate. It's really fun. You can create your own workflow. When, let's say the name of your teacher is Noel. When Noel at up.edu.ph sends me an email, I reply with. Okay? It's a simple rule, but it tells you that you've been communicating every message of your teacher. You will tell them that you've received them, you got it, blah, 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 and so on. So you can even automate that workflow, or in chat, you can automate a bot as if they are replying on your behalf. Okay? So actually marami ding mga pwedeng gamiting technology on this. I just really chose the simplest one that I think most of you will really, really appreciate and relate to.
All right, thank you. Let me combine two questions. How to handle teachers who are very strict with deadlines and are so fast at teaching, and paano kapag may delay kasi mabagal ang data, then the teacher requires me to answer. How to handle po, maybe as a student.
Okay. So there is a power in numbers. There is a power in numbers. Again, the University of the Philippines, we don't have deadlines. We just say that this is the end of the semester. You can submit it at the very end. Don't worry. Okay, so you also have to design the curriculum that it does not really have that dependence with one another. It should be a standalone topic. Now, with that said, I was telling a while ago, there is power in numbers. The whole class, huwag kayo mag-submit. Wala siyang gegradean. Lahat kayo zero. Lahat kayo ibabagsak niya? Question mark. Okay, but that's again a technique. Okay, it's really up to you if you want to implement it. Then don't submit at all. Talk to your classmates. I'm having a hard time with this requirement. I still have to fetch my parents who are in quarantine, and ako lang po yung bumubuhay sa mga kapatid ko. You tell the situation, sympathize, or get the sympathy of your classmates so they can cooperate with you. Yung mga classmates nyo na who can afford and who are able, so that they can cooperate with you to not at all submit that requirement. Or I would really force you to be responsible to your own deadlines. Meaning, so what? Incomplete mo ko. I don't care. I will complete it whenever I can in my own time. That's simple. That's as you have to be in charge of your own grades.
Okay. There's a question here related to Google Forms. So, how do you handle cheating? I think maybe it's asking if they're asking if there are modes or maybe
Okay.
tips on
So
how to
Google
handle
Forms,
cheating.
it is ito napakaganda. Napakagandang cheat or hack. Um, yung mga web developers sa inyo, here's the thing. Open the exam. Kung ang Google Forms ay nasa exam, okay? Open the exam in a browser, right-click, inspect element. Once you inspect the element, go to each of the form IDs. Okay? So each of these form IDs will have some ID, HTML, ID equals. Okay? So yung ID, input, blah, 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 ID equals. So that's your ID. So you can automate that. If that's the case, you can just copy your answers and probably create a long HTTP post on this particular Google form and then tell your classmates, okay, run this API. That's the answer. And you know already that you can share it to your classmates. Give that HTTP REST, HTTP put or post on the Google form, and then copy that, send it to your classmates, ask your classmates to run that in Postman or in any API simulator. So all of you would have submitted the most perfect answer to your quiz. And at the same time, okay, pare-parehas kayong 100.
All right. There's one just quick question. May possible po bang bumagsak ang student kung phone lang ang gamit sa online class?
Okay, I will tell you one secret and something that I would probably not tell, but I want you to know because we are a government university, we are the national university. We don't give right now. So in the time of pandemic, the first sem and the second sem, we are not as teachers allowed to give a grade of 5, that's bagsak, and even a dropping grade. Yes, we can give 4, but this 4 is not really the 4 that we know na parang babagsak na rin eventually. But that's just incomplete. Okay? So we have a memo. We just received this memo. Bawal magbagsak. Okay? Again, you don't want to contribute to the anxiety of the students. You want to produce the future IT, the future software engineers of the country. And you have to move forward as a country and as a community to foster and build the skills for the country. It's something that I don't believe that should be happening, yung pagbabagsak. Okay?
Okay. How can you handle plagiarism?
Okay, there's a tool for plagiarism. Okay, but for teachers, I would like to help you. You can use this tool, and you're in IT na rin naman. Use diff, DIFF. It's a simple tool. You can check the difference between these mga nagkopyahan. Again, there is also a plagiarism check in Canvas. If you are into Canvas, that plagiarism tool is built in. Not only that it will check from each of the students' work, but it will check also from the World Wide Web whether this particular chunk or this particular paragraph was straight and forward copy pasted. But if it's reworded, I think you will, as the teacher, would give that to the student because balik ako dun sa ano ba yung tinatanong mo? Kung yung tinatanong mo is mga WH questions, nasagot na lahat yan sa internet, copy and paste talaga ng student yun. So you have to really remodel or redesign how you'd conduct your assessments. Okay, again, this is not a downfall against the teachers. Yung mga WH questions na yan, it's the thing in the past. Dati true or false tayo. Ang pinakamaganda, modified true or false. Dati, multiple choice tayo. Ang pinakamaganda, alin dito sa mga choices ang mali? Alin dito sa mga choices ang tama? So, ganon, no? You can level it up to assess the learning, and it doesn't really have to be a copy-paste thing. You can redesign how you conduct your assessment na hindi aabot doon. Tapos fault pa ng student kapag kinopy-paste niya or kakasuhan pa siya ng cheating, and so but that's because how you designed your course. You designed them to become cheaters. Noel, meron pang question? I think Noel was dropped or ako yung na-drop. Let me just check Zoom. Hi Noel, you're on mute. Sorry.
There's a question here. Sir, possible po bang malaman ng teacher na you inspected the answer at the exam in Google form?
Sorry, yung in-inspect, what I can simulate, actually I've been teaching web dev for professionals and even students, and the greatest hack that I've taught them on Google Forms is you can actually create your own web page and then submit it to Google Forms. So the actual creation of the web page, the API, the endpoint that you call in submitting those answers to Google Form, you yourselves can curate and corroborate and collaborate on how to answer those, so that everybody will have just send the link to all of your classmates, run it in an API simulator, okay, and you will all have roughly the same scores.
Okay, so how about if the student just enrolled and he never complies with the academic requirements? Do we give passing grade still? I think this is for teachers.
For teachers, if wala kahit isang requirement, let's say create a video on how you will use IoT at home. Kunyari ganun, no? Okay. Tapos wala talaga siyang Alexa, wala siyang some Apple Watch, wala siyang Siri na papag-utusan. Wala talaga, no? So if this activity is limiting to him, malamang hindi yan magsasubmit. Okay? So when that happens, I would suggest that you gave them an incomplete, not the incomplete na parang 3 or 5, but an incomplete. Give them time and then let them know it's not a failing grade. Okay? It's something that you missed from the requirements. So on your own time, if you have the capacity, if you have the affordance to do so, just complete it. Don't worry about this subject, as this subject will be relevant later on this particular other semester or for that particular course. So know also when is your subject related to a specific other subject that they will be taking the following semester or they will be taking the next quarter or trimester. Okay?
Okay, I think there's one practical question. How about others that who don't have laptop or PC to use?
Okay. I think this is the best question ever because I was also asked the same question by a congress in all the private teachers in Baguio. Merong pa ring cellphone? Kung meron, you conduct your lessons there. Tawagan nyo, libre, your line can have an only call. Your class conducted as online or in a learning environment, and you have these people who really cannot afford. Then make a group call sa phone. You can, if you're the teacher, you have that merge call or conference call. You can do that. Okay, so call them whenever they wanted to be called at specific time or whenever they committed for this time. You can call them. If not, okay, you remodel, redesign your curriculum that even those who do not have access to technology can answer. And this is what is being done by DepEd right now. they are delivering modules, you can answer some workbooks, and so on. So you can go to that level. And some, of course, would really prefer or would go to the other media type, hindi yung pen and paper, hindi yung basa by a book, but more of parang podcast, audio, meaning radio channels, or video TV channels. Okay, so things like this, there are other media that you can use. Okay, you utilize them, and the challenge is more on how you will really make and flip or probably tweak your class so that it can accommodate all technologies.
All right. There are lots of questions here. They're asking about ideas of noise canceling apps, and then um, so that's one. So noise canceling applications. Two would be alternative online exam applications, and three, how about the alternatives to hardware? Like for example, I think Arduino and the like. How do you manage with this in this pandemic and online learning?
Okay. Again, before you proceed as the professor, okay, make sure first that your students has access to this digital equipment. Again, if your class is 12, and then you tell them you buy your own Arduino for this course. So una, consider nyo muna, magkano ba ang isang Arduino, for example? Nawala ng trabaho yung magulang niyan. Sila yung part ng sector ng hospitality, ng restaurants, ng tourism, na matagal nang walang trabaho, walang pambili yan. Okay? Paano kapag ganon? Okay? So things like this, you really have to talk to your students. It's not one policy, one rule that everybody must follow. Talk to your students. Ask them, ano yung meron sila, ano yung wala sila, ano yung kaya nilang bilhin, ano yung hindi nila kayang bilhin. And then, devise a way. Is, for example, hindi niya talaga kayang i-afford yung Arduino, then sino yung classmate niya na pinakamalapit? Pwedeng yung first 2 weeks, sa kanya muna yung Arduino. The susunod na other 2 weeks, bigay mo yung toolbox sa kanya, siya naman ang gagawa. And do not require a specific time. Make sure that they just complete this at their own pace. Okay? Going back to another question, yung isang assessment tool, okay, that you can use, actually there are a lot, and it's really how you will phrase your questions. In Canvas, it can be what we call a regular question, input, paragraph, multiple choice, true or false, grid type, checkbox, and so on. But I would also, okay, if you are still in the world of the assessment on that science part, okay, I would probably stop you there, take a breather, and ask you, okay, have you considered your students posting probably in YouTube or sending you videos on how or what they've learned, okay, or present a specific thing. So instead of you scientifically, quantifiably checking all of those points, okay, palitan niyo yung rubric niyo. It can be, okay, in the video, na-present niya ba to? In this audio or in this paper, nasulat niya ba to or hindi? Ano yung defense niya? Ano yung kanyang pinaguhugutan? Ano yung kanyang argument? Okay? So, please tweak it in a way na kasi you don't want your course to be one of those nakakalimutan nila by the time that they go to work. You want them to experience that they value your course and it contributes more to their personality, their career goals, and the skills that they will be using for work. Okay? Sa work, wala namang ABC, ABC. Sa work, walang checkbox true or false. Sa work, you will have to create this, you will have to do this. So let them do that. Okay? Let them write papers, let them write proposals, let them plan out projects, let them do those schedules.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have here the last question would be how should you handle learners or slow learners, especially that of course there's the anxiety about getting used to the new technology or new platform. So how do you think should we address learners or the beginners?
Okay, so I had this experience. I had students with special needs. You have to identify that early on. It can be students with special needs. It can be students with sabihin na nating low aptitude. It can also be students who are really visual but cannot really follow because I teach programming. That's why. So okay, you identify them. Okay, based on their classification or grouping as teacher, create a fitting curriculum for them. You should adjust. How will you put your shoes in their shoes? How will you learn this concept? Let's say you're talking about pointers. In programming, we have what we call pointers. How will you let pointers be visualized by somebody who is really cannot explain what pointers are or doesn't really understand the arrow, the dots of that figure? Okay? So it's your responsibility to you're the subject matter experts. You're the domain experts. Kahit ang tinuturuan mo ay pinaka sa slowest learners or sa fastest learners, you can, I'll say it, okay? You can dumb down your lecture. You can twist your lecture to become more visual. You can twist your activity to become for those who are really into just audio type of learning. Okay? You are the experts on this field. Show your expertise. Challenge yourself that you can relay even this minute type of details to your students coming from various backgrounds.
Okay, so again, yeah, there's still lots of questions on the Q and A, but I would leave you to answer to that one. And again, I like to thank Mr. Gabriel Villarente for this very relatable presentation. It's very student centric, and yeah, thank you very much again. And it's a very great informative life hack, so that I think it will also raise the level of teachers that they can actually start rethinking or redesigning their mode of teaching and learning as well when it comes to the learning environment, may it be online or offline. All right. So again, so thank you very much for Mr. Gabriel Villarete from the UP Development Center. Okay. So let me again just share again my screen here for the announcements. Okay, just in case, please make sure that you're aware of the e-certificates. Okay. Okay, so e-certificates, so those are the details. So just contact our secretariat. So in case you want to know more about or you want to inquire how to get the certificates, okay, or also just visit upsitf.org. All right. Okay. So I now leave the floor now to Miss Floor for to introduce our next speaker.
Okay, thank you, Noel. Good afternoon again to all of you. Thank you, Gabo, for a very good presentation, very good talk. Let me introduce you now to our final speaker for this afternoon session. He recently retired as Undersecretary for Regional Operations and ICT Industry Development of the Department of Information and Communications Technology, DICT. So he's now a freelancer consultant. He also served as Deputy Executive Director of the Department of Science and Technology, Information and Communications Technology Office, and Commissioner of the then Commission on Information and Communications Technology. Currently, he is a trustee and president of the University of the Philippines System Information Technology Foundation. Here with us today is Sir Mon Ibrahim to talk about a very inspiring talk entitled Landing Your First Job After College. Sir Mon, good afternoon.
Yeah, yeah. Good afternoon, Floor. Give me was this a couple of minutes just to so I can actually share my slide.
Go ahead, Sir Mon. While waiting for Sir Mon, I'd just like to inform everybody that we will be sending e-certificates starting on December 13 after all the three Saturday sessions have been completed. So please wait for our link that we will send to you individually in your email. Thank you.
Hold on, hindi ko makita yung ano ko. Sandali lang ha. Floor, you have a copy of my presentation there.
Yes, Sir Mon. I can
Sandali lang.
do the slides. I'm using the...
Yeah, ito na, ito na.
Okay na. Okay po.
Okay. Okay, great. Nakikita niyo na?
Yes, Sir Mon.
Okay, thank you so much. So, I'm going to be the last speaker for the day. Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Ilan bang participants natin ngayon, Floor? Anyway, before I actually shared my slide, I saw there we have more than 2,000 was this participants for this afternoon. Uh, and this is going to be a non-technical was presentation. I know a lot of our participants are going to be graduating this year. So I decided to actually focus my second presentation for the Y4IT 2020 on helping, giving tips to all our graduating students. Um, Rather, was this providing them tips on how to land their first job right after college. So this is going to be the first time that I'm going to be presenting this slide. So bear with me. Kagabi ko lang ginawa to, and I hope you're all going to be you're all going to like it and find it very, very useful. So for those who are seniors graduating, you must be preparing now for your first job search this early. Uh, uh, Beefing up your resumes, kung may mga career fairs, although virtual ngayon ang mga career fairs, marami na ako nakikita nagkakandak na may schools that who are actually conducting career fairs, of course in cooperation with some of our biggest recruiters in the country. So this presentation is actually going to hopefully help you, be a step ahead of the other applicants for this year. So saan ba tayo mag-uumpisa? I think we need to actually start with how the recruiters, these companies will actually see you today. During my days, pag sinabing they're going to actually look at my background, my school was this, the accomplishments. Usually, they ask us to describe it in writing. But today, pag-submit mo pa lang ng applications nyo, alam niyo ba kung anong unang-una nilang ginagawa? Okay? And it's really something that will have the biggest impact on your chance of landing a job. And it is all about your Google results. Yan ang unang-una nilang ginagawa. I-Google nila kayo, titignan nila kayo, titignan nila makikita nila kung ano kayong klaseng tao, ano yung mga pinaggagawa nyo, when they actually Google you in social media especially. Okay? So, and it will actually have the biggest impact sa chance nyo makakuha ng unang-unang trabaho nyo. Okay? And you bet almost 100% of the recruiters are actually going to Google you. Okay? Dito nga sa presentation ko, 75% lang according to a study that was actually conducted in 2015. But most companies now, they require their HR department to Google the candidates during the hiring process. And samot-sari ang nakikita nila kung sa mga social media posts nyo kung anong klaseng tao kayo. Okay? And I have a picture here of somebody who's very, very drunk na natutulog na sa kalye dahil sa kalasingan. No? Now, let's think about what's this, your persona in social media. Okay, pagdating from the eye of the recruiter. Okay, I have here 3 examples and 3 job candidates who are actually applying for the same jobs. We have applicant A, si Nathan, applicant B, si Anna, and applicant C, si Irene. Okay, Nathan, when they actually Googled him, they found out that the results came out that all his social media was this posts were or social media account were littered with party pictures, medyo hindi magagandang mga tweets, and meron pang mga posts doon yung kanyang galit na ex, okay? And then we have Anna, whose posts are mostly about what she actually was able to accomplish during her internment o yung kanyang kanyang internship sa isang company, okay? And anong nagawa niya doon? Her accomplishments in school, yung mga projects na ginawa niya sa school, at highlight niya doon yung mga projects na ginawa ng kanyang organization, school-based organization. And then we have Irene. Anong nakita nila kay Irene? Karamihan na nakita nila kay Irene are actually posts about herself. Karamihan mga selfies niya. Samot-saring suot, okay, nakapang beach, nakapang tulog, lahat na, but 75% or 80% ng mga posts niya sa social media are about herself. Puro pictures niya, okay? At sa tingin niyo, sino unang-unang makikita ng seriously ang titingnan ng ang mga recruiters? Of course, it's going to be applicant B, okay? Ganun ho ka-importante, ganun ho kalaki ang impact. That's how critical the impact of your social media personality will have on your position, your ability to land your first job. Isa pa, when they actually Google your name, okay, will they be finding the right you? Ikaw ba talaga yung unang-unang makikita? You know, we have a lot of voices of, I know there are a lot of voices of Filipinos who share the same name. At yung iba dyan, hindi maganda yung record, okay? So ano bang makikita nung unang-unang makikita mga recruiters dyan? Yung isang may record na hindi maganda instead of you, okay? At ang dahilan is because, you know, mas na-highlight ng search engine optimizer yung pangalan nung hindi may record, may bad record kaysa sa iyo because mas malaking news yung yung kaso niya kaysa sa iyo. So it is very, very imperative na kailangan nagpo-post kayo ng maganda sa social media accounts nyo. Okay? So what can you start doing right now to get your Google results job search ready? Okay? Unang-una, you clean up your social media profiles. If you wouldn't want hiring manager to find it, i-delete nyo na lang. Okay? Yung mga pictures nyo na nag-happy-happy kayo doon, okay? Katulad ng ginagawa nung isang ng batang ito o ng babaeng ito. Kung ganun karamihan, ngayon, this early, i-delete nyo na ho yan. Okay? Although, you know naman, in social media, although I'm going to touch this, on this a little later, sa social media, there's no such thing as permanent deletion. Okay? So, yung mga ganitong pictures, umpisahan nyo ng tanggalin yan. And you can actually go back from the time when you started opening those social media accounts. Yung mga tweets nyo, yung mga post nyo doon na hindi maganda, okay, umpisahan nyo ng tanggalin yan. Okay, makikita nila at alam nila wala kang ibang pinagagawa kundi nang aaway o backbiting people behind their back. Okay, so ngayon pa lang, umpisahan nyo ng tignan yan, linisin nyo na lahat yan. Ito yung sabi ko kanina. However, kahit pa ginawa mong private yan o dinilit mo na, there is really nothing private online. Okay? Kasi kung merong nag-screenshot ng dating mga post mo na hindi magaganda, wala na 'yon. Hindi mo na pwedeng hindi mo pwedeng pakialaman 'yon. Lalong-lalo na pag nakaaway niyo na sila. Okay? Number 2, start opening up a LinkedIn profile. Ito ho yung social media platform ng lahat ho ng mga professionals. Lahat ho ng mga gustong magaganda lang yung nakikita about them. Okay? A lot of us professionals, including your professors, they have LinkedIn profiles, LinkedIn accounts. Okay? At ito sa mga tinitignan ng mga recruiters. Okay? May LinkedIn profile ka na ba? May LinkedIn account ka na ba? Kasi kung wala kang LinkedIn account, isa ka sa mga last priorities na tinitingnan nila eh. Pagtapos kanilang i-Google at hindi masyado maganda yung nakita nila doon, either ilalagay na nila sa trash bin nila yon yung application mo, or malalagay ka doon sa last priority na titingnan nila. So open up your LinkedIn profile. Pagkatapos kasi nilang i-Google at makita yung FB, whatever accounts mo, okay, yung pinagagawa mo doon, susunod na titignan nila actually doon yung LinkedIn profile nyo. At ilagay nyo doon, ano yung mga experiences nyo, ano yung education nyo, ano yung summary ng, everything about yourself. Anong interest nyo, nasaan ka, okay? Maglagay ka ng professional photo. Huwag yung photo na, sinelfie mo lang yung sarili mo na naglalaro ng basketball, okay? Try to actually look very, very professional in your LinkedIn profile photo. Okay? And we have a lot of examples. And in fact, there are a lot of sources of content that you're actually going to find online to advise you on how to actually create your LinkedIn profile. Okay? Through your LinkedIn profile, that is actually a way of starting you building connections. Okay? And magugulat ka na lang doon na marami pa ng tao na kapareho mo rin naghahanap ng trabaho. Maraming tao doon na gustong tumulong sa'yo. Okay? And as much as possible, yung mga kakilala mo, i-add mo sila sa LinkedIn profile mo. Okay? Although, I'm going to caution you now, ang LinkedIn is very, very different from your FB account. Kasi doon, stricto sila doon. Pag hindi work-related, hindi positive yung mga statements na nilalagay nyo doon, pagsasabihan ka ng LinkedIn. Okay. Number 3, and this is very, very important, okay? Especially for people who wants to actually be a step ahead of the other applicants in the same sector or in the same industry. As much as possible, get an internship process. Get into an internship program. Okay. This is hindi lang go beyond the mandatory 3 months or 6 months internship program that's required actually sa course natin. Okay. Uh, you can actually do internship kahit walang sweldo kasi it's actually going to open up a lot of doors for you. It's actually going to it's going to let you put in your resume that ito yung mga naging experience mo, okay, as an intern. Ito yung mga natutunan mo as an intern. And most probably, yung mga taong nagtatrabaho doon sa kumpanya kung saan ka pumasok as an intern would actually say good words for you when you apply when it's actually going to be your time to apply for a job. Okay? Pwede mo silang gawing references. Number 4, find the mentor. Okay, remember, alam niyo ba kung sino naging mentor ni Mark Zuckerberg? Okay? Ang naging mentor ni Mark Zuckerberg nung inuumpisahan pa lang niya ang Facebook was actually Steve Jobs. Now look at those is where Facebook is right now. It's almost as big as actually Apple. Uh, Itinayo niya no, ni Steve Jobs. Okay. Find a mentor. There are a lot of people among your network who can actually act as your mentor, advise you kung paano mo how to go about your application, how to go about your first job. Okay, for those of you who would like to actually get me as a mentor, uh, bibigay ko sa inyo mamaya yung aking email address. Shoot me out some questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them and help you out when it's time for you to apply for a job. Okay? Find a mentor. At yung mga mentors dapat, ito yung mga tao who can actually inspire you to move up, yung tinatawag namin sa English na move up the value chain, to level up. Okay? People who actually are doing the same thing that you want to do in your job. Okay. Although sa litrato ko to si President Barack Obama. Kung gusto mo maging presidente, then pumayag siya maging mentor mo, then go look for his email address. But there are certainly a lot of professionals there who would be willing to actually mentor kids, especially lalong-lalo na ako. Probinsyano kasi ako. Gusto kong tulungan yung mga tao sa probinsya on how to actually be able to find or land their first job. Okay? Kasi malaking bintahe ng mga taga Metro Manila, yung mga taga metropolitan cities ngayon because of their environment, because of their ecosystem. Okay? At karamihan ng meron sa mga malalaking cities, wala kami sa probinsya. Number 5, definitely your career guidance center ng school nyo should actually be able to help. Okay? Ang problema ko lang dito is, I've been working with different HEIs all over the country in my capacity as a member of the technical panel for IT education. Karamihan dito, every time tinatanong ko to, karamihan ng schools actually hindi nakahanda. And hopefully, this is one area where our schools would actually be able to really improve on. If there's one area for improvement that I would like to actually request our schools to look into, it's actually their career services. Okay. And as much as possible, nandoon ka na rin lang sa Career Guidance Social Center nyo, okay? Tingnan mo doon, tingnan mo yung listahan ng mga alumni ng school nyo, and find out if there are people if there are people rather, who would actually be able to help you. Certainly, itong mga taong ito, okay, hindi magngingimi yan na tumulong sa mga batang graduating or mga bagong graduates ng same school nila, okay? Lalo na kung same organization sila para matulungan ng mga kuha ng trabaho. Now, number 6, I suggest you join an industry-specific group. Kahit walang sweldo, okay? Kahit walang sweldo. There are a lot of process of professional organizations there who are willing to actually take on uh, new graduates to help them out in their was in special projects. Okay, I'm actually a past president of the Philippine Computer Society, and we have a school-based was this uh, school-based organization, yung Junior PCS, and a lot of ways we actually engage the members of our JPCS was this chapters to help us in big projects that we are undertaking. So these are opportunities for you to actually be exposed to people who would actually be able to help you land your first job. Now, eto, yung sinasabi ko, these groups can actually build your network, forming relations that you can actually use in the future. It is going to be very, very helpful. Ngayon pa lang, gusto kong, I'd like to actually put emphasis on your ability to build your network. Whether nagtatrabaho na kayo, okay, a network, kung may work na kayo, nagtatrabaho na kayo, your network would actually be able to help you move up the career ladder. Okay? At kung kahit big boss na kayo doon, your network would actually even help you help your respective organizations become bigger, become more valuable to the community that you are in right now. Okay, ito hindi madaling gawin, okay? Creating a website, okay? Um, very few people are into this. I think my next slide says only 1 out of 9 students actually have their own websites. Let me go back to and recommendation ko dito is actually for you to use WordPress. It's open source, okay? Libre yan. And it's very search engine SEO rather was friendly. Okay, mas madali kayong makita dyan. And this is one way of getting people know more about you, getting people know about how you think, getting people know about what your interests are, okay? And basically, ang makikita rin ng mga recruiters dito is may sarili kayong pamamaraan kung paano nyo uh, how you're able to actually express yourself in terms of your interest in life and what you'd like to actually be doing after college. Okay, so I hope this is one area where our students can actually improve on, helping them build their own websites. What do you include in your website? Doon sa website nyo, dapat, that should actually be the hub for everything about you. It should contain the link to your FB account, to your Twitter account, to your LinkedIn account, whatever, okay? It's everything about you. Parang it's as if you're actually, through your website, you're opening yourself up to everyone to know you better. And it is a very positive way of actually letting people know more about you. Okay? May isa ko nilagay dito, although iti-take ko rin ito a little later. Okay? Use your full name whenever possible. Okay, maglalagay doon ng mga aliases. Okay, maglalagay doon ng mga, Mon Ibrahim 1872 at blah blah blah. Okay, wag yon. Ilagay nyo yung full name nyo doon para magiging consistent kayo. Okay? Ito yun. Okay. Use your real name wherever you can. Because through your website, I don't actually have to, yung recruiter, I don't actually have to call up a lot of people to tell me about you. Okay? Dapat nandoon na lahat yan. And it's also your way of demonstrating that you've actually been able to conduct yourself well while still in school, whether you're in high school or in college na, okay? Doon mo pwedeng i-highlight lahat ng mga naging projects mo, naging accomplishments mo, and that is actually one way of you being able to demonstrate and send out the what is the statements, the messages that even I was in high school and while I was in college, I was actually able to do this, and that. Okay. So napakalaking bagay ho niyan. And the recruiters would definitely appreciate was this taking a look at yung personal was his website. Some kids nakikita ko gumagawa nga sila ng vlog doon eh. For example, one kid, uh, with the website of one was this kid, nakita ko doon na binibigyan niya ng tips yung mga younger, yung mga lower grades, lower was this yung mga lower classes niya para matulungan yung mga bata. Okay. So it's a nice way of you know telling the recruiters na kahit estudyante pa ako, tumutulong na ako sa mga nangangailangan. Leverage content you already have, but please, wag naman yung TikTok. Okay? You can actually show the social side of you pag nandoon ka na sa trabaho mo. Pero kung gusto mong ipakita the professional side of you, okay? Wag mo munang lagyan ng ibang content yun. Only the positive content, okay? Either yung nakagawa ka na ng presentation, nag-present ka na ng isang research project, pwede mo ilagay yung presentation mo sa SlideShare, okay? Although hindi na SlideShare ang pangalan niya ngayon. Or even yung mga videos mo na nilaunch mo sa YouTube about projects that you actually did with a team or with your organization in school. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. In everything that you do, okay, please use the same name in all content. Because number one, employers will Google the name you put in your resume. At pag hindi nila nakita doon, at iba-ibang pangalan yung mga accounts mo, yung social media accounts mo, hindi nila makikita yung mga ibang magagandang nagawa mo na sayang lang yon. Okay? It also would actually help them it would also help your content rank higher in Google results through SEO, through the SEOs. So as much as possible, use the same full name in every account, social media account that you have. For example, okay, this is a good example. Ito si Patrick, Patrick Ambron ang ginamit niya. That's his full name, okay? Uh, a little about himself, okay? And pwede kasing gamitin mo rin yung yung katulad ng ganito, Amonaco 1187, okay? But then pag ginugol nila yung pangalan mo, hindi nila makikita ito. So be consistent. Use your full name in every account that you have. Okay. And as much as possible, create all contents that you put in all your accounts has to be positive content. So it will actually add up to a very positive online reputation. Kasi yun ang unang-unang titignan nga ng mga recruiters okay? Before they even invite you for for an interview. So when should you actually do this? Okay. I'm telling you, start now. Matagal kaya maglinis ng mga FB account para tanggalin mo doon i-delete mo doon yung mga posts, mga pictures na ayaw mo makita ng mga recruiters. Okay? You have to start now. You can actually do it little by little. Okay? Sa dami ng mga social media accounts na kinrate mo. Okay? But you have to start now. Don't wait any longer. Kasi later on, pag biglang nag-apply ka na at sasabihin nila at ginugol ka nila at nagkulang ka ng oras ng paglilinis ng lahat ng mga social media accounts mo, okay? Wala ka na magagawa doon. Makikita na nila yung ayaw mo makita. So, the longer you wait, the worse off you are, actually. So, start now. Linisin nyo na lahat yan because that's actually going to create very, very critical impact on your chances of landing the best job out there. Kahit pa yung mga, ano, yung mga, even if you actually was just opt to work as an online freelancer, okay? Anong unang-unang ginagawa nung ano, pag nagsabit ka ng ano, ng project proposal sa mga, was it, sa mga project owners, ang unang-una nilang ginagawa is actually they Google you. Titignan nila kung sino si Pedro Pendoco. Okay? At kung hindi maganda yung makikita nila doon, actually kahit pa murang-mura at yung bid mo doon sa project, hindi ka nila kukunin. Okay? So take action now. Don't wait. So that's it. Thank you so much. If you have questions, let me know. There's actually my email address. And I hope you liked the very, very short presentation that I did. And in behalf of all the speakers we had this afternoon, I'd like to thank you for hanging in there for the whole day today. I hope we were able to actually impart to you very, very, very good tips, very nice information, important information that would actually help you in your current studies as well as help you land your first job. And kami naman sa ano sa UP was this SITF although this is going to be the first time that we're actually doing a virtual Y4IT we've decided to actually kahit simple lang to have our Y4IT 2020 because ayaw naming putulin yung tradition doon. Every year, magkakaroon tayo ng Youth for IT conference. So in behalf of us, of my colleagues at UPS ITF, all the speakers that we have today, thank you so much for being with us today. And I hope to actually see you on day 3 of Y4IT 2020. Thank you so much once again. Floor.
Thank you, Sir Mon. The afternoon session has been very informative, and we hope that all of you were able to get something from all the talks that have been given today, this afternoon, and this morning. Okay, so just for reiteration, e-certificates will be provided starting on December 13. So please wait for our email link that we will send to your emails. And that's it. So goodbye, everyone, and be safe and keep safe. Thank you all for joining us. And
Thank you.
hope
Thank
to
you.
see you soon on December 12, which is day 3 of our Y4IT 2020 virtual. Thank you.